Hey everyone, this is Emmanuel here again, your Las Vegas emotion code practitioner. I work for Coding Alternative, and I just wanted to do a little message today in regards to why I chose to become an emotion code practitioner. There are so many energy healers out there, and then even outside the energy field, there's so many life coaches, and there's so many self-development coaches and mentors and all these things. And why of all the things, an emotion code practitioner, I believe that there are things that are happening in your life right now that are sharpening you or shaping you to become the mission-oriented person that you chose to be before you were born. And I want to share a little bit about kind of, if you want to know who I really am, I would have to point towards my mother. If you knew who my mother was, Dr. Maria Guerra, who was an oncologist. My father was also an oncologist, but specifically, obviously they both influenced me. But my mother, for whatever reason, and I think the reason was for me to find my purpose, is she led me towards the energy healing space. And it doesn't kind of make sense, two oncologists and hematologists for an energy healer to be born out of it. But let me tell you what happened. First of all, I just want to tell you, first of all, the heart of my mother, that, obviously I miss her very much. It's 2011 when she passed away with pancreatic cancer. But I just want to let you know kind of what kind of heart she had. And I heard that early on, and she grew up in Lima, Peru, in a very poor area. And it's interesting to know that when she was about 9 years old, 8 years old, I heard that when someone got hurt, that she would take care of it. Like, yo te voy a ayudar tu yaya, she would say, like, I'm going to help out your pain. That's like in Spanish, but yaya is kind of like a baby form of it. But even around 9, that she was kind of like playing nurse or playing doctor. So the mother noticed that she had these type of tendencies to help people that were sick. That when someone was sick in the home, that she wanted to help them out. So it seemed like very early on she was looking into to helping people. In Peru, it's very different, the construction of their school system, that they're very, as soon as you kind of have a hint of what you want to be in the future, they start kind of curtailing your information and the information you receive from teachers towards that career. Here it's different. You can go, like, I'd say there's a very high percentage of undecided in college, and you're still trying to figure out what you want to do. Not in Peru. In Peru, it's very different. It's like they start that early, say, hey, what do you want to start doing? And you're young. And then they slowly start giving you the right classes so you're prepared for college. And so it's kind of like, in high school, you should already know very, very well what type of career you want to have. And so, but interesting that she was at 9 years old, she knew so early. But here's the interesting thing too. She knew that there would be no jobs in Peru. There's a lot of taxi cab drivers that are highly educated. They're lawyers. They have 4 degrees. I've spoken to some highly almost like Berkeley educated type people, but they're just driving behind taxi cabs because there's no jobs. And so she knew she had to go to America. And it's not easy to go for be a woman, to kind of convince my father to go into America and to say we need to go to a different country because this is not going to be helpful for us. She graduated in the top of her class at UCLA Medical School. Now, what's interesting is that that's all great. That's all numbers. That's all grades. But what I'm interested in is the heart of my mother. And what she did is during her internship, when she had to take care of patients, she purposefully stayed overnight and slept in the hospital because of the time that she enjoyed working with these patients. So did she have to do that? The answer is no. Would you do that? I don't know. If you had your passion and your mission, you'd probably do that. So my mother knew very, very early on that her mission was to be a healer in some ways, as a doctor. But I always find that very interesting that she could have done the bare minimum. She could have done just enough, but for whatever reason, the heart that she had for her patients, she would stay on these benches and sleep there and wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock, basically working around the clock over the time that she needed to become, certified in different things. She stayed there just because she loved what she did, and her mother told me these stories about how she did that. And anyway, so she's an oncologist. She went to Kaiser Permanente for 20 years, and she started learning about Chinese acupuncture, chakras, energy healing, things like that. Her patients absolutely loved her, and I noticed that they absolutely loved her, and it's because she believed that even if there's all these clinical trials and these papers in regards to what works and what doesn't work, and she wasn't just about chemotherapy. She was actually just like, whatever helps the patient. Even if there's 1,000 tests and then one person, she would always used to tell me this all the time, one person had good results with this certain holistic way. She would bet on that 1% and say, what is the biochemistry of that person for this holistic way to work for that person? While my father, for whatever reason, says, well, there's 999 ways that it didn't work. So why are you betting on that one person? You see, so that it's very different. My mother was like, well, if it could be done with one person, just the same biochemistry has to be duplicated, and then it would work for 999 people. But what made this person different to accept this type of treatment? So I love that. I love that she bet on things that were kind of out of the norm, because she knew that there was a more natural, more clean way to help people. She always believed that cancer treatment should be, the top cancer treatments should be given to the rich people and to the poor people. She was a big advocate of that. And I'll tell you kind of what happened at the end. So here's some, just a list of things that, it's interesting that now that I look back, I don't know if you guys have ever seen a Chris Nolan movie. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. You'll be watching the movie, and all of a sudden there's this quick little flashback, and then it goes back to the story, similar to like Inception or Memento. I don't know if you guys, but anytime you see a movie, there's kind of like a quick flash of something of something that happened in the past. I've been having those a lot during working with clients in the emotion code, and it's interesting that when I'm talking about muscle testing, I would be picturing my mother taking me to these buildings of someone that's a holistic practitioner of some sort, and someone making me hold a vial of like milk, or a vial of just certain things like gluten stuff, or just certain things, and then they would be muscle testing me, saying, you know what, your son is not compatible with this, your son is allergic to this, body doesn't like this, and they were muscle testing me. And back in those days, I just really took it for granted. I didn't really know what was doing. I mean, no one really explained to me really why they were pushing down on my arm, and sort of the responses that I was getting. But it's interesting is that I was being groomed for muscle testing, and now all I do is muscle test people literally throughout the day. Number two is she would show me, she would go on her hand and say, look, try to push down your hand, and little by little you'll feel this little kind of like little energy ball, like this kind of like warm heat. And she would tell me like to move your hand over your body and like wait for sort of a speed bump. Like she was talking to me about those things very, very early on. And then she would lie down and be like, go ahead and put your hand over my leg and see if maybe something's wrong with my leg or whatever, And so that always fascinated me, that like, wow, there is something that I am feeling here, but I never knew what it was. Number three is she used to work on my ear. She would say that there's sort of like a acupuncture spots in the ear area, and it's always like she showed me a picture of a baby kind of curled up in utero position, and she would have a machine that basically kind of grabs on the skin and then sends these pulses, and she would put it on my ear. She says, where's your pain? I'd be like, oh, my lower back, my knee. And so she would find it, and then it would be like, and then it would basically hold on to this, pinch this part of my ear, and little by little the pain would go away. See, she was doing things, around acupuncture and things like that. And again, I just didn't appreciate it just because I didn't know what she was doing. She also showed me about the sway test. She would put fruit near my body, and I would be swaying. She also had a person that was standing on her desk. It was kind of a white sort of wax person. There was a bunch of dots on his body, which she was studying acupuncture. And she would go to conferences in Spain and in Africa, and she would go to conferences in Canada in regards to acupuncture. She was very aware of the chakras. She had posters near her bathroom and also downstairs in the garage of chakra areas. She would, when it comes to patients that she used to work with, she used to have these urine tests. Like she would invite them over to the home. I don't know if that was a legal thing to do, but she would invite the patient to her home, and she says, let's talk about your wellness. She says, I'm glad your cancer is slowly going away, but why would I leave you in an environment that's going to it's conducive to create the cancer all over again for you to get a relapse? That would just be like, definitely didn't make any sense to my mother to do that. So she would do these urine tests to see, okay, what's their pH balance? Are they drinking alkaline water? What kind of diet do they have? What type of stress are they having at home? the last thing is this. I want to share this amazing story. You can actually find out where someone's heart is by knowing what they were doing the last 5 years of their life. And the last 5 years of my life, or of her life, my mother would go down to Peru, and she was looking for the cure for cancer. One of the things that she had brought up was immunotherapy. She believed immunotherapy was the thing for the future. And she was helping out. She was going down to Peru. She talked to city council, to the Rotary Club, and she opened up literally the first clinical trials on humans for immunotherapy with a company called Immunophotonics, and she was helping out patients out there and grabbing people that were absolutely poor. Because back then, about a few years ago, I don't know if the laws still exist in Peru, basically you had to be at stage 3 cancer to be able to be part of clinical trials, because Peruvian government wanted you to spend all your money, be basically destitute, and then you can be worked on. So these people had no money, and they were going to pass away in 2 or 5 months. She would scoop them up and then work on them who had metastatic breast cancer. Anyway, what's the point of me sharing this? Like, what does this have to do with you being an emotion code practitioner? Everything. It's the heart behind my mother that drives me to work with people and to help them. That she was practicing what she preached, which is, she says, I want to have these people to have a more holistic, natural way. The success rate was almost 66%. The reason why I know that is because I started a nonprofit called Garo One Source, and I was trying to fund the clinical trials that my mother was doing down there. But then it got very dangerous in Peru. I don't know who I could trust down there, because when you're working on holistic things down there, the medicine world in Peru is very mafia oriented. So I had to kind of go back and be like, I don't want to die for this cause. Like, it kind of scared me. And I think she never recommended me to kind of get into this, because she kind of knew it was a little bit dangerous, especially since none of her colleagues really appreciated her work down there, trying to put immunotherapy into Peru. They didn't appreciate it. She was actually disturbed that her colleagues were like, no, you're going to mess with our lifestyles if you pursue this. Maria, please don't do this. We need to pay for our homes, our cars. Chemotherapy is a great business. Do you guys see where I'm headed with this? There's a war going on right now. Big pharma, even the way medical doctors are taking care of people. It's driven by greed. There's a lot of greed out there. But these people with greed provide the right groups to create clinical trials for things that will basically harm us in the long run, but they're very good and methodical of doing clinical trials. So people go, oh, well, there's proof. Well, there's proof. But they're not looking at the big overarching picture that you're harming different areas of the body if you're about to mask something. What's the success rate for chemo? Very, very low. You see, so these people need to know that there's a war. It's a medical war out there. And in fact, immunotherapy, you can combine a little bit of chemo with immunotherapy with seashell formula, and it works. So there is even a place for chemo, but it was just a little place there. It wasn't like a lot of chemo, and it worked better if there was a little bit of chemo. So my mother didn't say negate complete Western medicine. They said there should be a combination of both. And so why did I become an emotion code practitioner? Is because the war still continues. The war still continues, and there are so many millions of people suffering with depression, anxiety, PTSD, people that are suffering with pain, and the doctors tell them that this is what it is, and they have a name for it, but they don't realize that there's imbalances in their body. That's all it is imbalances in the body, and it could be found. Guess what's the greatest doctor? The greatest doctor is your body. Your body, your own body, knows what's wrong with it. So emotion code practitioners are just the bridge to enlighten you, to let you know that your body has the ability to heal itself. So I want to tell you my wife and I, we have a practice called Coding Alternative. We're out here in Las Vegas. We've only been around for about a year, and it's just been very humbling. We've worked with close to 1,200 people so far. We have over 180 5-star reviews. I believe we're the highest reviewed practice in the emotion code sector. And here are the 5 reasons why I chose to be an emotion code practitioner. Number 1, it had to go with my Christian beliefs. I know a lot of energy healers, they talk about the universe, and I respect that. But for me, I love the author of Dr. Bradley Nelson. If you haven't read his book, you should read his book, The Emotion Code, and by Dr. Bradley Nelson. He was a frustrated chiropractor, and all the information he received was through prayer. Because he saw people coming back with the same symptoms over and over again. So it's almost like a frustrated chiropractor, and he comes up with the emotion code and the body code. And so here we go. So the first thing is that he was Christian, and I'm Christian. And so it resonated with me that he actually had Jesus Christ inside the book, and why this beautiful type of healing is available to us, that he was actually inspired. Number one, he's not shy to talk about that. He's very blunt and obvious where it came from, that it came through prayer. Number two is that you can work long distance. I love the fact that I have 99% of our testimonials are people that are out of state, out of the country. That's number two. That's one of the reasons I love the fact that you don't have to be in person to help somebody out with the emotion code or body code. The heart wall, the greatest discovery in energy healing, according to Dr. Bradley Nelson, is the heart wall, and that's within the emotion code. It's not in any other mode of healing. It's under the emotion code. I think there's a reason why it has that large attraction in there, is because once you hone in on clearing your heart wall, then there's more doors opening. There's the body code, and that goes even deeper into like bringing the best version of yourself, whether it's like, relationships, wealth, and different things like that. So then the number four is the body code, which is the most advanced healing system I've ever seen. In fact, it's endorsed now by my father, who's an oncologist, 69 years old, started reading the book, the manual, the body code, and said, no, this guy's a chiropractor? And I said, this guy's a chiropractor. And he said, this stuff's inspired, like thalamus, pineal gland, brain that's attached to certain emotions, the whole skeletal system. I mean, this person was highly inspired in doing this. And the fact that you can muscle test your way through everything, and that an 11-year-old can go through the body as intrinsically as you can through the body code is incredible. He said, so he loved, again, an oncologist impressed by the body code. And he said, this book has to be inspired. This manual is inspired. So that's number four, is we have the body code. And number five is I've helped out 6 veterans so far with PTSD. I used to go to military school, and I've always wanted to find a way to give back to the military, because I realized that around the same time when I read the book, I called an old friend of mine, a teacher that was in military school, found out that he has PTSD symptoms. And so, again, 22 suicides a day. My wife and I, we've never charged a penny to anyone that's in the military and has PTSD. And the reactivity, or I'm sorry, the conclusion of what has happened when I work with them for over maybe 3 to 6 hours in different times of the week, they've completely changed their life. I mean, they really stop losing PTSD symptoms. Their depression goes down, their anxiety goes down. I've never seen anything like it. It's absolutely amazing. Just working with the heart wall. Number 6, I used to pray maybe once or twice a day. Now I pray like 10 times a day. I love the fact that Dr. Bradley Nelson encourages prayer, and he just says it in the head. You don't have to be Christian to embrace this type of work. You could be an atheist, you could be a Buddhist, you could be whatever you want. Obviously you believe in some type of higher power or higher self, but we just kind of like take a moment of, and even if you don't believe in a higher self, you could just meditate. We took 10 seconds just to meditate, to make sure the session's inspired, and then we go into work. So now I pray 10 times a day. It's a beautiful thing. I love working with children. You don't have to work with the child right there. Like, let's say it's a 10-year-old. I don't have to talk to the child to use the emotion code and to remove energetic imbalances from them. I can work with the mother who gives me permission. I can work via proxy with the child. And we've seen self-esteem go up, grades go up, relationships better. They say, I love you more, less codependency. I mean, you name it. These children are changing right before the eyes of these children. I start working on their heart wall. I start removing emotional triggers from their body, just using the emotion code, not even the body code. And the mothers have seen, and the fathers have seen amazing improvement. And these children, 95% of them have never even met me. Very, very powerful. Number 8, I love working with pets. We have great testimonials on pets, and that they also have the possibility of receiving 60 trapped emotions. And you can remove them, and then their behavior improves. So love working with pets. Number 9, there's new programs coming out. One to do with relationship, one to do with specifically wealth, That, you know, are there energies that are being exchanged between you and your partner that are affecting the marriage beyond the heart wall? Which, if you don't know what the heart wall is, go ahead and go on our YouTube and just look up, like, you know, heart wall coding alternative. Again, just go on YouTube, search and go heart wall coding alternative. I might even put it down in the about section page so you can know more about it. But then there's also like a money thing. There's going to be a wealth program, and then there's also the relationship program. So even beyond the emotion code, even beyond the body code, there's new things still coming, and the founder is still alive right now, and there's new information still coming right now, and it's more exciting than ever. There's only 3,400 practitioners in 60 countries. I mean, the opportunity to become even a healer yourself and help others is way, way open. And so it's very exciting. And then again, number 10, I met the founder myself. I hung out with him for the weekend, and I've never met a more humble man. I've never met somebody that every time I see him on a webinar, every time I see him working with someone, I notice the great spirit that he has, that he gets very emotional when he hears stories of people changing their lives. That this man is a very, very good man. And I don't want to be part of something where there's a conniving person looking to make a quick buck, or someone who's, you know, I don't want to work with someone like that. I want to have someone who's leading the way, but in a righteous way, and he's actually helping people. The first thing he did when we hung out, it was amazing how he came down and just started working with our dog, you know, and just said, well, you know, what's wrong with it? Anything I can do to help out? You know, it reminds me of my mother. My mother would have done that. As soon as she heard somebody having some sort of deficiency or something, she'd be like, oh, you know, let's go back to the garage real quick. Maybe I can do some tests to see how I can help you out. That's the same way my mother was, you know. And so those are the 10 reasons why I chose the emotion code, those 10 things. If you want to read the emotion code, I would definitely recommend it. Do your research. Don't be quick to assume, oh, this is what the emotion code is, or, oh, you can't believe in that. Do your diligent research. What if this was the future of medicine, which I believe it is? What if it is? And you don't know about it yet, but now you're first hearing about it. I would definitely look into the book. I would look into, go ahead and YouTube, what is the emotion code? You'll probably see a video of me. What is the heart wall? Or just write heart wall coding, C-O-D-I-N-G, alternative. And you'll see another video of me, and I'll explain sort of the heart wall. And so those are two videos that can give you more information. So I just wanted to share kind of my testimony of like why I decided to become a practitioner. And my mother is like, if you see me, you probably see my mother right behind me, that I know she would be proud of this work. I knew that if she would have been here now, she would have probably been working with me. We would have been emotion code practitioners together. So I want to dedicate all my work, all my efforts, everything that I do to my mother. I want her to know that she continues to inspire me. I wish she could watch this video right now and know that if I can get anywhere near her heart, and the pureness of her heart, I would win in life. That would be one of my greatest gifts that I can work towards, is having that type of heart that she had. And so I just wanted to be very transparent with you and let you know why the emotion code means so much to me. And so hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully who knows, maybe we'll work together soon. And thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe below. We're trying to make we're doing a book review. Actually, it's a commentary of the emotion code, and we're going to be just like kind of putting our input into it, like, you know, what our thoughts are on top, and actually read the book to you. So you'll probably see some things where it says commentary, page by page commentary. That's just me reading the book for you and actually just kind of putting our commentary in there and just our own personal thoughts. You know, we're not endorsed by Healer's Library or Wellness Unmasked, or the companies that provided the emotion code, but it's just our kind of just getting you some ideas, some feedback, things that have worked for us, some stories, maybe even testimonials on top of it, of the book, to kind of let you know that this is real. This is something that's changing people's lives. So with that, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to one day maybe meeting you. So take care. Bye-bye.